It is finally time for me to put a wrench to this old RC Allis Chalmers. I've been waiting patiently here for a while. Had a few other projects to get finished up, and they're getting pretty well squared away. That Farmall H is alive and well. I got a new coil on order for that. In the meantime, we're going to tinker on this thing. I haven't done much other than unload it. Drug it up here by the house where I could reach it with an extension cord and air hose. Kind of walked around and picked off a lot of bits and pieces of metal, scrap chunks, and bent carriage bolts and just stuff that didn't belong with the tractor really. Made a few other discoveries. The fuel tank has got about a 3/4 inch layer of petrified tar in the bottom of it, and I mean just rock hard. So it's, what is it, Sunday today? On Wednesday I dumped a couple gallons of fresh unleaded in there, hoping it would soften it up a little bit, and I think it's working because it looks like it has some fresh leakage coming out here around the sediment bowl. So I'm hoping that it's softened up enough where a guy can reach in there and scrape that crud out of there. What else have we done here? We put the air hose on. I put air in all 4 of the tires, and only one that retained any of that air was this one front tire. That's got to be, well, at least a week or a week and a half that's been sitting there, so that's kind of, well, whatever. But the only other discovery I think I made, oh yeah, I did look up the serial number. Cleaned it up a little bit with a wire brush. RC 4969 comes back as a 1940. So that's, I guess, not all that earth-shattering, but what I think is kind of cool, honestly, is the blade. You know, Tom had assured me it was extremely sharp, and I think I discovered why. When I went to put it in the shed, I must have looked at the opposite side of the blade of what Tom was looking at, because it still has the original sticker on the blade, as well as the cardboard shipping container, or at least a remnant of it, with the same company logo stamped into it. Of course, I googled that company. It's out of, I forget now, someplace in New York, and it just brings up like a residential address, so I highly doubt they're still in business. But it's just kind of cool to see. I technically have a brand new blade for this buzzsaw, which means I may just have to put it on and like I said, play with it for a while. I don't know about everyone, but quite honestly, every RC that I've ever seen, because it belongs to a collector, it's been restored, and it looks just like the last one that I saw, and the one before that, and the one before that. And this is not in any way, shape, or form a pristine original example, but the paint is original. You can't really read much of the lettering anymore, but I'm having thoughts about just taking what's there and maybe buffing it a little bit. But what about just keeping it original? I mean, as the old saying goes, they're only original once. I mean, I could paint this thing and it could be restored 20 times over. It's only original once. So I don't know. That might be something I'd ask second opinions on too. So if you have an opinion on that, throw it in the comments, because I will read them. If everybody says I'm a moron, well, I'll believe you. But anyhow, I just prefer more opinions than just my own. But that's just one of my thoughts right now. The only other thing I think I forgot to cover was this tube right here. That is not original. Neither is this handle, which is really loose. Tube was for a single shot 16 gauge shotgun. I'm tempted to leave it there because it seems like it belongs with the tractor's history. As I might put new bolts in this handle. This handle, I was told, is from a Model T. I don't know my Model Ts that well, but again, I kind of think it belongs with the tractor. It's part of its uniqueness. So I'm kind of tempted to just keep it for the time being. Obviously, if you were doing some sort of full concourse restoration, that stuff would have to go in a heartbeat, but I'm not doing that right now. So anyway, goal for today. I'm trying to set my goals pretty low. I would be glad to meet or exceed those goals. Goal for today, get the oil changed. That's number one. While that's draining, I'm thinking about, let's take a look at the battery situation and the battery cable situation, because they're not good. They're just not. I would be thrilled if the end of the day this thing had fresh oil and filter and was able to crank over under its own electric starter power. Beyond that, there's plenty more we can do when it comes to addressing the fuel system and filing the points and checking for spark, but all of that kind of hinges around fresh oil and electric starter, because I don't want to try and hand crank something that there really isn't room to properly hand crank. So, and even so, if it didn't have electric start, I'd be on board with hand cranking it. It has it, therefore it needs to work. So, I guess with no further igloo, we're gonna get it started on this thing. I'm gonna put a wrench to it. Get our drain pan lined up here. Get our crescent wrench going. Ooh. That's a bit rounded off. Oh, there, she came loose. Way easier than what I would have expected. Now, I would anticipate water coming out from condensation and sludge. I've even seen in worst case scenarios where there's such a layer of sludge at the bottom that you have to poke through it with a screwdriver just to get whatever's in there to flow out. So I guess we're gonna see. This might be one of those cases. So I'm gonna go get a screwdriver and we're gonna poke through that. And we are definitely putting this back together with a different drain plug, because that one isn't even a shape anymore, and I know I have more. So there we go. kind of see approximately the difference. I would feel terrible putting that back in, because what if the next guy can't get it out? This guy right here, it'll come out for the next guy, which hopefully is me. But more importantly, see what happens now. Oh yeah, I can feel it's just like a layer of goo. There we go. And the oil is not black. It's actually fairly clean. There comes some of that goo. I'm just gonna let this drain while I tackle other obstacles. This could even be something where I leave it drain overnight. We'll see. Lloyd, what are you doing, big guy? Yeah, I know. Come over here then, I'll pet you. I will. I know. I missed you too. You've been out on kitty adventures. Yes, you have. You come here to eat and sleep and meow. Fun fact, the animals around here are named after TV and movie characters. So, Lloyd here has a brother named Harry. You might be able to figure that out on your own. If not, I'll tell you. Dumb and Dumber. And that's why you have the gray kitten, although she's getting big now. Her name is Edith. You might figure that one out without my help too. She is from All in the Family. And the last batch of kittens a couple years ago, there was Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. But then Daryl turned out to be a girl. But we kept her name Daryl anyway. Larry got hit by a car. He was kind of neurotic and weird anyway, so I guess if one of them had to get hit by a car, it didn't bother me that it was him. And I just saw Daryl yesterday, but still around here somewhere. Anyway, we'll see about getting this old battery out of here. Usually when I get a tractor like this, I'll at least throw the charger on the battery to see if it'll take a charge, but just looking at this one, that would be a complete waste of time. So we're gonna see if it'll come out. Hold on. Okay, it'll come out. So then, had I been planning, I would have had a fresh 6-volt battery fully charged, ready to go in. But that's expecting a bit much of me at this point. So that, I think we're just gonna put a new cable on here. I think I'm gonna make new cables for both. So the cable itself here isn't bad, but man, by the time I chop that end off and put a good end on it, it'll probably be too short. So in the interest of just being thorough and doing it once, yeah, I'm just gonna replace the whole cable. I'll have to dig through. I think I have some random cables from past projects that might actually work for this. This cable going to the battery, or the starter, I mean, that's the one I'm worried about. She's in pretty rough shape, but This tractor also is another one of those positive ground tractors. So by my logic, that tells me this must have originally been in the southern hemisphere, because everybody knows when you cross the equator you have to stop and change your battery cables. I don't know how I get so many of these southern hemisphere tractors this far north, but I'm going to keep this one set up for southern hemisphere just for the time being, and maybe forever. I don't know. Let's maybe start with this starter cable. See if we can get that loosened up. Oh yeah. So far, Alice, you are cooperating quite well, implying to me that you might just be happy to be getting this attention. And I'm happy to finally have time to give that attention. There we go. So I don't mind working off from sawhorses. It's kind of like bringing a workbench to your project rather than the other way around. Make this just a hair longer. Turning into an expensive project so far, because I went to get out my battery cable making supplies, and I'm down to my last 2 battery terminals. Not a big deal. I'll get some more of them on order yet today probably. And I dug out my oil and filter, and once you know, I'm down to my very last Allis Chalmers oil filter as well. So I need to get some more of those on order. And the same problem happened with the Farmall. That was my last of the short IH filters. That turned expensive because I don't just buy 1 or 2. I bought 8 or 10 of them. Just because it's nice to have that sort of stuff on hand before you need it. So that gets a bit pricey, but what are you gonna do? I mean, a guy could blow a lot more money than that just going to the bar for one night, I suppose. Maybe I should start doing that. That wouldn't be this much fun though. Plus I'd have nothing to show for it. But anyhow, let's see if we can get this gooped up with some flux. Will it fit in there? Oh yeah. Buy this stuff in bulk. I forget where I ordered this from, online somewhere. Just nice to be able to make custom length stuff rather than buying the size closest to what you need. But again, that's kind of a personal preference of mine. I think I'm going to put those terminal ends on both at the same time, just because I'm going to get my hands greasy. Might as well just get them greasy once. So this one we don't need, that one we don't need. Here, Alice, you hold these. And here again, I'm gonna make it just a tad long. I'd rather have it longer than necessary than to come up short. You can enter your own Michael Scott joke there if you want. So this, yeah, it's hard for me to remember. Black, in this case, is our power wire going to the starter. Electrical stuff is definitely my weakest area. And if everything was 12 volt negative ground, I'd probably understand things a lot better. But I guess they never asked me when it was time to decide all that stuff. Much stuff out here. On a positive note, our oil seems to be done draining. So we get this done, we can probably start putting that back together. Oh yeah, if I'd have been smart, I'd have grabbed a 7/16 wrench ratchet for tightening those down. Let's go do that, and I'll edit the video so it looks like I'm smart. There, you see how smart I am? I totally had this ratchet the whole time. I didn't just have to go and get it after I forgot about it. There's one completed negative cable. There. New battery cables. While I was pulling that apart, that little spring-loaded plunger for the starter engagement isn't springing. so we're going to try and coerce it a little bit. Now, if you have cats in your garage, you end up with a very expensive can of penetrating oil that does not have a nozzle anymore when they knock it off the shelf. And you got to get creative and try and like plunge the pecker onto the thing and get it to spray out some of its oil. And it may not have the clearance to do that in here. So then we open up a brand new can of the same product, and you know they're just going to knock this one off the shelf so it looks the same. But I'm the dummy that puts up with it, I guess. We may end up removing that. I mean, we may end up removing the whole starter too. You know, I don't know what we're getting into here, but we'll keep hosing that down. I'm probably going to wait to hook up this battery cable until we get this determined if it's going to work or not. Which means I can put the other cable on. And, you know, let's finish up our oil change, honestly. That other cable, I can do that off camera. So with any sludge buildup in here, getting this thing up and running with fresh oil and filter, addressing the cooling system, making sure we got a thermostat in here so the engine's actually getting up to temperature, that's going to do a world of good for removing all that sludge buildup. And I mean, it could take several years unless I really use the thing a lot, which I highly doubt that I will, but that's all right. It's getting better, it's improving essentially. But let's get some oil in this thing. On a very interesting note, here's the battery that came out. All it says on here is tractor. Power Start must be the brand. And to me, I wouldn't think that battery is anything newer than the 1970s. Maybe older than that, I don't know. But interesting, it'll definitely be the oldest one I'm taking into the recycling center next time. Kind of cool. What do you suppose the odds are that old filter actually comes off of there by hand? I don't know what that little doodah is. They're trying to hotten up the spark, maybe. Oh, that actually wasn't too bad. And it's noticeably less faded on the back side. Side that was facing the engine is like brand new. Guess I should have thought about that. Okay. Oh, the old cork gasket came right off. Yeah, like the front versus the back. And I lost my rag again. This is going on the shelf. We're not getting rid of this. This is just the cool factor. Getting replaced with maybe better filter, but definitely less cool filter, a Wix 57011. I hope that's what this takes. Every other Allis Chalmers I've got, other than the Model U, takes this filter. Am I doing this right? Yeah, I'm doing it right. Come on. I've been hearing there could be issues with Wix filters, like cheapening them up a little bit. I hope it's not true, but something just tells me it probably is, because it just seems to be the way everything goes. If that happens, well, I won't be running them anymore if they go too far with it. Go in here. Get some fresh oil. And you, maybe, hopefully. There we go. And we're going to get a funnel for that. I guess I don't know, I don't have it memorized how much oil this should take. That's got about 3 quarts in it. I'm guessing it's going to be a 5 to 6 quart capacity, somewhere in there. I mean, I've got several machines with the same engine, but honestly, I don't use them enough to change the oil enough to have that memorized, I guess. We're going to dump these 3 quarts in. When it comes to oil, I mean, pretty much anything you can buy these days is of higher grade than what was available when this thing was built. I've been running 15W40 of varying brands for many years. Whether it's useful or not, the zinc content of diesel oil is supposed to be better, and I mean, I don't put that many hours on anything, and they're certainly not usually hard hours, so I have not really had any issues there. This is SuperTech, must be from Walmart. Whatever. Like I say, it's compared to the oil that was on the market in 1940 or even in 1980. The stuff we have today meets a lot better standards than that stuff ever did. Let's see. You just wouldn't want to run like some of the 0W20s and those weird, extremely thin viscosity, full synthetic stuff. Yeah. Give her another, at least another quart. Can just about see the old girl smile. Finally, somebody's giving me some attention, she says. Feels good, doesn't it? Yeah, looking at these spark plug wires, we're going to be replacing them. I think we may be replacing the spark plugs as well, but we especially need to change the wires. They're just about rusted out, a couple of them. Let's check the oil now. Yeah, a little bit more. Good enough, but yet I would just as soon be a little bit over the line, because when it runs, and I'm being positive or optimistic that it's going to run, when it runs, it'll pump that oil up and fill up the filter, and it'll drop the level a little bit when that happens. There we go. There we go. What do you think, Alice? Feels good, doesn't it? At some point, we're going to probably be draining the transmission and differential. We'll change out those as well. Also the radiator. We'll probably pull the tin off so we can get to the radiator. Change out those hoses. I don't know if this has got a thermostat in it. Yes, it does have a location for a thermostat. So we are going to be replacing that. That's something I should order right now. So it will be on hand ahead of time instead of waiting till I need it and then ordering it. Let's see if we can get either of these screws loose. And actually, I brought out a needle nose, but it kind of looks like I may not need it. At least not, there's no cotter pin there. But it's still stubborn. Come on, you. Why won't you let go? Huh? Okay, well, all along. You know what? Let's just see if we can get this loose. That might resolve our problem. That one's loose. Let's not lose our nut. Oh, wow. Well, it came loose, but it's still a bit stubborn. I might go after a better fitting screwdriver rather than risk stripping that out any worse. Yeah, that's working better. Right up till now. Got him. All right. Well, why that won't come off of there? Some of our insulation is falling out. Why won't you come off of there? You just stubborn or what? Yeah. I doubt this switch would have worked even had we been able to encourage it to move. Let's polish up our contact. Way better. So let's see what we have here. Those washers look like they're supposed to be there, so we're gonna leave them. And you can see inside of here that green corrosion. I don't know if it even pays to try to save this switch. I just don't. We may save the switch, or at least this little dog here, just for parts. There we go. Now, yeah, she's not moving at all. I'm gonna go check inventory, see if I got anything like that here already. If not, we'll get a new one on order. Sometimes it's actually, well, a lot of times, it's kind of handy to order more than what you need. When you have something like this that is fairly universal, as in it's used across a lot of models, it doesn't hurt to have them on hand. So I had this one already removed or never installed, I don't know which, and I had another one still on the starter if I would have needed it. But you can see that plunger is supposed to move like that. Well, that one doesn't. When it does that, power comes in here from the battery, which correlates to this little guy down at the bottom. We push that plunger in, it contacts that little guy at the bottom. This side of the plunger contacts that starter post that we just polished up. And that's how it transfers power to engage the starter. It's just a really heavy duty momentary switch. So we're going to put this one on. And we're going to recycle this one. Guess it's a good thing we're keeping these components and put it back exactly how it needs to be. There we go. About there. There we go. Now he's in there. Get our cotter pin back in. Bend him over so he doesn't interfere with anything. There we go. Now when we pull that rod, we should push that plunger in. We might just get this together yet. And remembered that this needs to go in first. Jeez. Can't take me anywhere. I don't remember if that was looped over like that, perhaps, or how exactly that was hooked up. I almost think it would have to be to stay out of the clutch way. Okay, so that post is a little bigger. We're gonna have to drill this out just a tad. Perfect. There we go. Get a little grease on all of our connections here, because, well, you know how that goes. Dun, dun. I'm going to put a few more tools away. Well, we're ready to get a battery out. Throw it in here. Cross our fingers and see what happens. I'm going to throw this in here too. See this? There's a rod that's connected to that linkage. Comes up here and it looks like it's spliced right there. And it goes up to a pull loop up on the steering column. And I suspect if this is actually set up like WC's, that it should have a rod that you push through that loop there. But I don't know that for a fact. I'm not going to change anything till I know what's correct. But having all these years for people to have modified this, there's no guarantee what's correct or not. So anyhow, I'm going to go dig up a 6-volt battery. Put some of our tools away here. And we're going to see what happens.